Hi, folks.
Good evening. This is our first Traffic and Safety Commission meeting of 25, I should say.
Gotta get used to it.
It is roughly 8:03, and we're going to start off with a roll call.
Commissioner Huberson,
Yes.
Commissioner DiTomaso,
Here.
Commissioner Flaskamp,
Here.
Commissioner Little,
Present.
Commissioner McMurray, Commissioner Timmerman,
Carl Timmerman here.
Commissioner Karen Timmerman, Commissioner Wagner,
Here.
and Chairman Pecos.
Here. Okay. We'll move on to amendments to agenda. Do we have any amendments to our agenda for tonight? We good? All right, moving on to public comments on agenda items.
None.
Agenda items?
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe we have one on agenda items, and it's Donna Maxon? Okay, we ask you to kind of keep this to about 3 minutes.
I missed the last meeting, and there was talk about a study, and they were going to do it, from my understanding, Kevin said at the appropriate time of the year to monitor traffic, is what I understood, versus foot traffic. I just wanted to make sure that that was what I heard and that was correct.
That is partially correct in reference to that. We are interested in the foot traffic that is out there, obviously.
At the
not what-
appropriate time of the year and not in January.
Exactly. The other situation is, we're also have, I believe, coming up, Michael, and I think you could come, they are planning to do,
Temporary measures? for
well,
it?
no, they are planning to improve that road
Correct.
in the future, and there is a study coming up in reference to engineering phase 1, I believe, is at this moment, and I'll let Michael take it from here.
That's correct, yeah. The village received federal money to resurface and rehab Ardmore. It's from North Avenue all the way to Roosevelt over the course of 3 years. The next board meeting, this upcoming Monday, we do have an agreement with the engineering consultant to do what's, as Chairman Pecos related, Phase 1, which is preliminary studies, preliminary engineering. And included in that is the traffic studies and pedestrian studies. So we are having an extra study completed around the Lufkin Park area. With the cameras and the technologies, they can pick up all sorts of things, bicyclists, pedestrians, cars. So that area is being studied. Right now, we're targeting probably middle to late May, just so,
Which would be an appropriate time.
yeah, we want to get when the park's open, but school's also in session
So at
with the
that
school
point,
traffic.
would they make temporary measures to accommodate that until the Ardmore project is done or completed, or while it's being worked on?
Correct, yeah, based on what the results of
Yeah,
those studies.
because Kevin had said that they were looking at temporary measures.
Yeah, based on the, what that study determines, what the appropriate measures would be, we'd look at implementing those measures prior to
Okay.
full-blown
I
construction.
just wanted to keep it, in the limelight, and additionally, with the new rec center open, I think that might be something to be looked at too, from crossing the north side of Wildwood to the south side of Wildwood where the Union Project's gonna go. There is a stop sign in the parking lot, to go in and out, and there is a crosswalk walking out the front doors, but not north side of Wildwood to the south side.
I have not seen the plans for the new rec center in reference to the
Yeah, I
different-
just went by it tonight,
the
so
new-
if you walk out the front door and you're walking into the parking lot to transverse from one side of the parking lot to the other, there is a crosswalk, but not the actual street from the north side to the south side where the Union's gonna be.
Michael, I believe there's improvements going on that street once the rec center totally gets
Correct.
operational.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it now, but once the Union is up and going, I think we should have that in the back of our minds.
Correct. There's a portion of the trail that's supposed to be
The
constructed.
tri-rail,
Yeah, we omitted it knowing that construction of the union is forthcoming. We didn't want to put the.
right,
it's
so
been
eventually
planned
that'll all
to-
tie in.
Yeah, so there is a planned crosswalk.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
go
just
across
wanted
that.
to, keep it on the agenda and keep it in the limelight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Any other comments in reference to agenda items? Okay, then we're going to move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Patty Plattenberger? Well,
Sure.
are you Gail? I'm Gail. Okay. So Gail Ruiz,
Yes.
okay.
From Villa going east on Madison. I live at 608 East Madison. From Villa going east on Madison, I am the second house off the corner of Monterey on the east side of the street. Madison going eastbound is downhill, so it's easy to pick up speed. There are no stop signs on Madison regulating speed after Villa, when in fact there are stop signs on every adjacent street, Washington, Highland, and even Park, at Monterey. From my research, Madison is not the village's thoroughfare or main artery, and drivers are going upwards of 50 miles an hour. At Madison and Monterey, throughout the mornings on school days, there are a handful of kids, because it's a bus stop. On school days, my kids get picked up in front of the house. Drivers are consistently speeding past the school buses, as well as blowing the stop signs on the buses. I have multiple calls into the police. I've had police present for school pickups. I've seen police ticket speeders, as well as requested digital speed signs be posted on 2 occasions. I have twin 3-year-old girls that have special needs. My driveway slopes towards the street. Occasionally, balls, toys, and even bikes roll into the street. It is my responsibility to keep my kids safe. It is your responsibility to review and adapt traffic regulations in the village. I am requesting a traffic study be conducted at Madison and Monterey for a stop sign, turning that intersection into a 3-way stop for the safety of my children and the residents that live on Madison.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a spelling for her name and her address?
We have that right here.
Okay.
Okay, so we can give you that to you. That helps. And Bob, you want the other? Sure. We just gotta have those back before we leave. Okay, sorry about that. Yes. Yes, Patty? Okay.
Okay, my name is Patty Plattenberger. My address is 713 East Madison Street, Villa Park. My house is perpendicular to Riverside. I look out my window and I see Riverside. So every morning, most mornings, I see cars take that corner at an alarming speed. The only thing I can think, the reason I think is because cars are speeding down Madison, and either they are angry because it's a dead end and they can't get on 83, and they just take that corner. It's alarming because there's another bus stop on Riverside, younger kids, so elementary school. So if one of those cars spins out, they're going to hit those kids. So, and I'm also a dog owner, so every morning I walk my dog east on Madison, and I see cars speeding down Madison, speeding east, speeding west, that at just an alarming rate. It's kind of hilly, so there have been cars hit. I don't have the dates, but there are police reports about cars that are parked on Madison legally that have been hit because these cars are going so fast. When I have guests coming over, I ask them not to park on the street, but to park on my driveway, because I'm afraid their cars are going to get sideswiped. So this is concerning to me as a dog owner. This is concerning to me because we have young children, and I don't understand why these cars are just speeding up and down Madison, but they do. So I think that the way to really alleviate this problem, or really help this problem, is to put the stop sign at Monterey and Madison. Any questions?
Okay, I do have one question. I'm trying to picture all this here right now. So you're at Riverside and Madison,
Yes, so
and
I'm
you're
on-
saying that you have speeding cars going east and west on Madison by Riverside?
Well, my first point was, I look out my window and I'm perpendicular, I'm on Madison, I'm perpendicular to
Oh.
Riverside. So I see the cars that are eastbound on Madison that are going quickly, and so they take that corner at Riverside and Madison at an alarming speed. And
Coming from the north?
Coming from the west?
The west.
West?
Yeah. West, they're heading east. And either they don't understand that that's a dead-end cul-de-sac and they cannot enter Route 83 from there, so they just whip around that street, or people are just traveling way too quickly on that street.
They're
So-
using it as a gateway to get on 83.
Which they can't.
Which, that's what I'm,
We talked to the police officers when they pull these cars over,
okay.
and there are people that living in Downers Grove, people living, and they're trying to get on 83, and they're taking Madison because there's no stop signs.
Where in Highland and Washington, which are the adjacent streets that you can access 83, there are stop signs every other block, so people come down Madison. It's very dangerous. A couple of years ago, a car was speeding down the street, they hit a parked car. That woman totaled the car, but she also flipped her car, and it was on her roof, because she was going so quickly up that incline that
A
she
couple of
didn't-
years ago.
Yeah, and then we've had other cars that were hit on the street.
His car was hit 2 years ago.
So, I wish we had those police reports, but.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
May I ask a question?
Vicki.
So I just want to ask you a question, because I live right there. So I live on Oakland and Highland, so I know exactly where you're at and what you're talking about. So one of the questions I had was, when you say that they're driving eastbound on Madison and they're taking the curve to go northbound on Riverside,
Correct.
so you're stating that they know that there's not a stop sign there.
There's no stop sign.
Correct, there isn't. But I mean, if people like from out of town, they don't know there's a stop sign there, would that not know that they can't get on 83 from there? Is if they're using driving directions, how would they know that there's no stop sign? I'm just curious why they would say that.
In my situation, I'm out there
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the school bus with my daughters. So it's the same cars, almost like clockwork. They're going to work, right?
Okay.
So I call the police, I get license plate numbers, I have video of these people blowing the school bus stop sign, driving way too fast, making models of their cars, because like I said, they're almost to the minute. And these particular drivers have been pulled over since then. Now they just turn down Monterey and avoid my whole section.
Because I've seen it the reverse, where people, they come up to 83, they see it's all blocked off. So they'll turn down Riverside or Monterey to get to Madison, go up Madison, Villa, take it over, so they get to the stoplight and go bypass that whole area. So I've seen the reverse
Right.
of that, so I was just, thank you.
May I ask a question quickly, too? Now, this sounds like this is rush hour type stuff.
No, not necessarily.
It's all day long?
All day long.
Okay.
I mean, I think we could safely say that there's more traffic during rush hour, but, I walk my dog sometimes early, sometimes 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 o'clock, and I see this coming up and down.
This, you talking about 9 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock in the morning? So I live in the neighborhood, too. I often walk through there myself, so I have not really seen the traffic. I don't like the fact that there's parts where there's no sidewalks, but there's little that can be done about that.
And I think one of the most egregious things is when those buses have their signs up and these people go around it. I mean, what the heck?
And he doesn't slow down when he sees students.
There are 3 bus stops. There's the junior high bus stop that's on Monterey and Madison. There's the school bus that picks up Gale's kids, and there's the bus stop that's on Riverside. So you've got all ages of kids. These cars are zooming around like it's a speedway.
Well, I could say the same about Highland in the morning, too. Yes.
Anyone hopes that stop means stop.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wants to make a comment on non-agenda items in the public? None? Okay, we're going to move on to reports of bike, pedestrian, and transit subcommittee. Bob?
Thank you, Chairman Pincus. I will report that the Bike Pedestrian Transit Subcommittee did not meet in December, but I can provide some updates on a couple things. I mentioned that the Bike Pedestrian and Transit Subcommittee was interested in pursuing a mini grant for they call it Project Sidewalk. And I know that Director Guerra is very informed about this. A mini grant was awarded. And first of all, Project Sidewalk it's a web-based tool that allows anyone with a web browser and internet connection to contribute accessibility information virtually using Google Street View. And the data collected is open and publicly available. So there was a grant awarded, but there was a concern, how to say this? There was a concern about liability possibly with regards to information. So the grant is going to be awarded to a private individual, and those funds will be used to help Willowbrook students involved in a project with Project Sidewalk. So the Bike Pedestrian and Transit Subcommittee is not necessarily involved in it actively. There may be some members that are involved with the education and promotion of it, but it's something that's not officially being handled by the village. But if there's valuable information, it may be shared with the village. And it's a good public education activity and a good activity for Willowbrook students. So that's all I'll say about that. I will mention that in Illinois, there is, every other year, there's a bike summit, and there will be a bike summit held in Springfield, Illinois on May 8th, and I know that some members of the Bike Pedestrian and Transit Subcommittee are interested in attending that summit, and it's more than just bike information. There's information for, pedestrian projects, et cetera. So I've been to them. I've been to a number of them over the years. It's a great opportunity. And that's really all I have to report.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Any questions? None. Okay. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Consider approval of the minutes of the November 5th, 2024 Traffic and Safety Commission minutes. Has everybody reviewed those?
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Do we have any comments before we go to that?
I'll second.
Okay. So Joe first, Bob second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Very good. However, we should be considering approval of the December 3rd minutes. However, we have not had that prepared. Yes, Bob?
I'd like to make a motion that we table approval of those minutes until our February 4th meeting, since they're not available.
Yes.
I'll second.
They are not available. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Bob first, Joe second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Okay.
You said nay?
No.
So we're all in agreement there. Okay, going on to old business. Item number 900, parking restrictions at Princeton south of Belden. Again, village staff was not available in December to kind of look into the idea of placing physical barriers along the green spaces along the east side of Princeton due to several other activities that were going on in the village. So I think we're going to go ahead and just pass on that for this tonight, unless, Michael, do you have any other comment on that?
No, I think that is accurate,
That's it, okay. Yes, Joe?
I think there's a little confusion. We've already voted to change the parking on that street, and there is a proposed ordinance. The only reason it was coming back to us is to review the proposed ordinance to send to the village board.
That was, well, I'll have to review that again, but I have notes that we were gonna do that, but we were thinking in reference that, about putting barriers in there and finding out if we can do that.
Well, the barriers are an additional aspect that has nothing to do with the parking side of the street issue. We've already voted, in fact, it was,
Okay.
in fact, you were the only one to vote nay.
Yeah,
Everybody else voted yes, to change the parking to no parking on the west side of the street.
yes.
And that's why we have a draft ordinance in our packet. We were just supposed to review the ordinance and say yes or no to the wording of the ordinance to forward to the village board.
Okay, that part I was not aware of. I assume that's the red one here that.
Yeah, I am taking about it. Yes, I believe it's,
Before Kevin
Probably-
left, he did not mention he got to that, so that's the reason why I see that.
Yeah.
But when we discussed it and went through it real quickly,
Right.
so
I mean, I'm okay if you want to table it for a month to have time to review it.
I would like to do that because Kevin was working on that and,
yeah, I believe that's probably the wording in red is probably
Yes.
making sure that's the accurate.
but I would like to table
Limits.
that until he comes, just to make sure we understand what he's doing there.
That's fine. At
Okay.
last meeting, I think there was just some confusion on what the status of this is. The only thing at this point that we should be doing is reviewing the ordinance proposed and either approving the wording or asking for changes to the wording.
I believe you're correct in reference to
Yeah,
that, but I
so-
thought we also brought up that we were investigating in reference.
That's additional. That was kind of separate.
Okay, so we'll just table that and we'll discuss it with Kevin when he comes back.
Okay.
Any other comments? All right. Then we're going on to item number 902, stop signs at Elm and Princeton. And I'm going to tie that up with item number 903, stop signs at Division and Princeton.
I'll move to table both of those because, as Kevin stated, they don't have the traffic studies for either of those done.
That is correct. That's where I was leading into. So we are
I'll
gonna.
second that.
So all in favor on that? That was
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay, so all ayes. Excuse me. Okay, item number 904, Traffic and Safety Commission's 2025 budget. I believe that has been officially approved by the village, from my understanding, and from what I see. And we're at $2,500 in reference to that. Yes.
So the essential problem that we have here, and the reason, after discussion, the commission putting maybe some additional funds, was to see if we could get another staff person to come on board, just for meetings to help Kevin, because has lots of other duties. And I just wanted to know, since there is extra money in our budget, since Director Guerra is here, and I hate to put him on the spot, what's the possibility of us getting someone to attend meetings to give additional help?
Yes, now that the budget's been approved, there'll be a discussion that I'll have with the manager to get his direction on on his wishes and how to proceed.
Okay.
And I do believe the other thing that we were looking at is using somebody to review the tapes and write it up for Kevin. And I think that's what was all supposed to be discussed coming up at the beginning of this year. So it's either going to have somebody here or possibly just have somebody review the tapes and they would write them up in a timely manner. So,
Correct, yeah, I would say on the reviewing the tapes and trying to get the minutes done, that's in the works.
right.
The additional would be request for overtime. I would have to get final approval from the manager before I can offer that out to existing staff.
That answer your question, Bob?
Yep.
Okay. So do we want to leave this item still on the agenda? As far as I'm concerned, we could remove it.
I'd like to make a motion to,
Hold it, excuse me?
Just a question on this now. So do we need to follow up on this, or is staff going to take care of this on its own? Or should we keep it open to just make sure, if we're going to get somebody to do that or not?
My understanding, staff is going to be looking at that, so
Well,
Mike
until we
Holt and
actually
Kevin
have
and the
an
village
answer.
manager.
Until we have an actual answer as to what's going on, I don't feel we need to take it off, just so that we can talk about it at each meeting until we actually have somebody here.
Okay. Bob?
so the agenda item 904 is actually the commission budget, and the commission budget's been approved, so there's really no need for us to discuss it any further. How we spend the money is certainly a different issue, but the budget itself has been approved by the,
Yes.
Yeah.
That- It was
I agree
approved
with
at the beginning of this
so we could,
December
yeah.
there, yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that we remove item 904.
I won't object, but I'd
From
like
the
to keep
agenda.
following up
Open and
on this.
Yeah. We'll follow up on it, and I know I had a discussion with Kevin because of the minutes and before he was leaving and everything else.
Okay.
And that he just didn't have the time and there was other circumstances that came up,
Completely understood.
so. Okay, so, all in favor, let's see, do we have a motion to remove this?
I made a motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? Vicky? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're removing 904. Okay, going to item 906, crosswalks across Ardmore Avenue at Lufton Park. That was kind of slightly discussed a little bit in reference to agenda items by a public. I don't know if we need to add any more to it at the moment. That's open to here. Basically, we're going to be waiting to see what Phase 1 in the study comes up with as better weather comes in the spring and towards the summer here, and see what, have a study in reference to that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, yes, I think it's mentioned, we're utilizing video traffic counters with the Phase 1. And with that video traffic counters, they can also pick up pedestrians, bicyclists. So we did include in our scope of study for our Phase 1 engineering, additional emphasis at Lufkin to trying to pick up those. It's targeted, like I said, the middle to end of May when weather is nice, so that we would get participants at the park, along with keeping traffic going to Willowbrook High School, knowing that that location is right down the street. We wanted to make sure we can capture both of those sets of traffic. So we do have that written in the scope to be completed in our Phase 1.
Yes.
I have a question. So I mentioned at the last meeting, talking about this exact same thing. If you count the number of people who swim the river, you will never find the justification to build a bridge. Do we have any clarity on what the traffic study is doing to account for the fact that there is no pedestrian infrastructure crossing Ardmore. So the number of people crossing Ardmore will not be reflective of the number of people who desire to cross Ardmore. There ain't no bridge, people aren't swimming.
Yeah, so part of it would also be counting the number of spaces included in the parking lot and their usage to see who's going to the park. With the traffic counters, they do have the technology to pick everything in that quarter, so we can kind of see people wishing to cross, that are crossing illegally, along with the intersection up at Jackson and Ardmore, to get those traffic. And along with, we did put to have physical counts, we may do that with some staff internally, just to save on costs. We can work with our park department to go in and kind of drive the parking lot, see how many open spots are there during the hour to see the utilization of the parking lot. That gives guidance. When we go into certain things, we have to make sure that we follow the state standards and guidelines to implement. Otherwise, we can be at risk of liability if we put in infrastructure that's not well-designed and thought out through the specification. So that is the intent. I mean, part of it, that is the phase one engineering, they do forecasting, so we can take the existing counts. And then with our federal money, we have to forecast, I think, 25 years into the future based on calculations that are approved by IDOT to forecast what's the traffic, what's the increase in pedestrians, those sort of things. So that is the use of that, and that's what will help determine what is the appropriate measures at that location. Because there might be alternate scenarios that we'll look at that come out also through public participation. We'll have a public input meeting at the start of the phase one, and then we'll have one kind of after they got the initial design to take comments on the initial design as part of that project. So all that gets roped into that, just not the counts. It's the public input, the traffic counts, and then recommendations that are filtered through that phase one study.
Okay.
So I guess that, I don't know if that means, so it's not solely just the counts.
Right.
That's just some of the components. And like I said, the technology has advanced greatly. It's pretty inexpensive to be able to put up cameras that can track all that remotely and get a good idea of actually seeing what's out there versus just the old-fashioned air hoses that count how many times did somebody drive over this air hose.
Sure, sure.
Question?
Yes, Vicki?
So question, so I understand that we now have the water park over there left and whatever, so what were the issues with the pool? When the pool was there, I don't think there was any issues. I mean, what were there, if there were issues, was this brought up before to us based on when the pool was alive and well going over there? How did kids get to the pool when they were trying to cross the street? Did they go up to Jackson and cross the street and then go back down? I mean, I'm kind of curious, what was that scenario like versus what's happening today?
I can't answer that. I haven't, and since I've been on this commission, it has never been brought up to this commission in reference to it.
That there was ever an issue with kids crossing over and trying to get to Lifkin Pool?
Yes, to my knowledge. Yes, Bob?
Thank you.
So just my observation is, of course, there were children going to Lufkin Pool, and regretfully it's gone, but now we have something else that's great in its place. And I think usage of the pool is seasonal, whereas usage of the park is almost year-round, especially where there's a walking track and there's other things that folks can get to. So there may be more vehicle, people traffic going to Lufkin than there was when there was Lufkin Pool.
I'm not saying that there's less or more or less traffic, but I'm just saying, I'm talking about how they got to the facility, not necessarily how many people are going to the facility. I'm more concerned about how they got to the facility. So it's like if there was no issues in how they got to the facility before, why would there be issues getting to the facility now, is my question.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Yes, Joe?
Director Guerra, when are you anticipating, with all the studies and everything, being able to actually do something?
We'll probably have the preliminary reports back, I imagine, June from the
Would you
engineers.
be ready at that point to actually,
Depending on the
if warranted?
the
assuming-
magnitude of what the repairs are, obviously. I mean, if it's costly, but if it's implementing a crosswalk, some signage, like ramps, those sort of things, those could be something that could be done.
Pretty quick.
per this construction season, yeah, this
So
season.
do you think it would be smart for us to table this until May or June?
I would imagine the conditions are not going to change too much in the next couple of months, for sure, just due to the weather outside. It's just not favorable for many to be out, but
That was kind of rhetorical.
But yeah, I would say in terms of staff level, we'll be turning it over, the engineering agreements before board's consideration on Monday, and then that kicks off soon after, based on our timeframes that we've laid
But
out.
there's
for
not
them.
going to be updates along the way or anything like that, really?
It would be several months before we kind of get updates. It's quite a bit of information that they gather around. And then, yeah, like those public input meetings will probably start, I think, in March would probably be when we'll have the first kickoff with public meetings.
All right.
But yeah, I would say we wouldn't have too much information until springtime before things kind of return that we can evaluate.
All right, so I guess I'll move to table this until May, our May meeting.
If I may,
Carl?
it does have a number. It's something we can just bring up and say we're just still waiting on information. We don't have to table it, but we can address it at each meeting, and possibly something may come up in the meantime.
I agree.
Okay.
I would rather have it on our agenda, so in case something does come up or something develops sooner than that, something, March is only a couple of months away, basically, in
Right.
reference to it. It's, 2 meetings away. So I'd rather just leave it on and we'll
Fair
just
enough.
move through it. Everybody in agreement? Good. Okay, moving on to item number 907, Drive Like Your Kids Play Here signs. We have this as like a reminder here of possibly having some signs again coming up in the spring to distribute out to the public. Bob, we have gotten rid of all the signs that we've,
This is Commissioner Wagner. I did not have a chance to check with the police department. Maybe Sergeant can tell us if, the last time I was there, they had this was a month ago, they had 17 signs left.
okay, all right,
Out of 200.
out of 200.
200.
Yes.
I think it'd be maybe best to wait and see, just to double check if they've gotten rid of all the signs yet, or before we order more signs. And I know it's a little bit of maybe an inconvenience for the police department, because they've got to store them, and then somebody has to, dole them out.
Right.
So I think it'd be better to see how many are left to get an idea, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, where I'm leading into is, yes, I would like to leave this item on our agenda. Also, in reference to checking out to see how many signs we still do have left. I knew it was just a handful of signs. But to discuss if we do go ahead with this for signs for next spring, summer, if we can figure out a way to try to bring them into the village hall so they're available to the village hall at their time, and they can possibly distribute it, or see what we can do. Like you said, it may be a hindrance to the police department at the moment.
I think they like them at the police department because there's more hours for distribution. And that's kind of a decision that the manager made.
Okay, well, we'll check in, my point is, we'll check into that in reference to leaving it on here.
Right.
And the last thing I want to make a point on is, we talked about if we wanted to come up with a different saying. So in the next 30 days, month, if anybody wants to come up with a different saying for this, let's present it at our next meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is an imperative. It only takes about 2 weeks for me to actually order and receive the signs and go through the whole process.
Right, so,
So we can't really distribute them in January anyway, so.
right, no, we're fine.
Yeah.
That was our plan, to look
Right.
into March and stuff. Yes, Bob?
Yeah, I was going to echo what Commissioner DiTomaso said. I don't think that, there's not a lot of room in Village Hall to store those, even though the police department is probably the best place for them.
Right.
And in terms of if we decide to order some, staff can go ahead and handle the ordering. They know the whole procedure, and it probably would go a little bit smoother.
Okay, so we'll get an update on that for our next meeting. And if we want to come up with a different saying, we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Different saying, different color, anything people want to suggest.
So,
we got
okay.
time.
That ends old businesses. Going into new businesses. I'm going to bring up the situation of Madison, Monterey / Riverside speeding, stop signs in reference to that. Are we in favor of making that a new agenda item coming up?
Well, here's my problem. We're prohibited from my understanding, from adding stop signs for speed purposes. So what other reason is there for us, not that I'm against the idea, but we're not allowed to do that. So we need another reason or another direction.
Well, I'm not saying we're going to put a stop sign there.
No.
I am saying let's investigate what the situation is there, and that way we can figure out where we're going. The situation is, it sounds to me that there are speeding cars going down that street, and it's the speeding that's the situation. Now, how to control that is what we need to investigate and see what we can come up with. So that's reason why I put it as stop sign, as it was brought up by the public, / speeding was the situation also brought up. And I think it's more of a speeding situation that we have here, and I would like to investigate into it and therefore make it an agenda item to come up with, and then maybe ask the, possibly if we can have like traffic counters out there, possibility to check in to see if we have, we'll say in the last year, how many accidents / violations that we've had from the police department from that area. And we'll proceed from that point there at our next meeting.
Do you want to go back a little further in time? As she said, there was a car that flipped over. Was that 3 years ago?
I would need to check that, but I think it could be. It was summer.
Sergeant, how difficult is it to go back and get that information?
For a specific crash with any kind of identifier, it's not something we could check.
Okay.
We go to one crash course, we just have to see which one.
I'm not really concerned about that particular incident, but it was a while ago. And if this is a pattern that's been continuing for years and years, then, you know, it gives
That's
us a
the
better
way I'm
idea.
looking at it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just saying if we go back a year, kind of see what we have, then we can decide if we got to go do more or figure out where we're going. We don't have a solid basis of which way to go with it right now and how to control the situation that's over there. So unless, Michael, do you have any other suggestions?
No, yeah, we can work with the police department to see.
I can get that exact date because I know the person's car got totaled, so I can get the exact date of.
I'm more looking at,
Not just the
it
one
being-
incident.
Yeah, that one there, and that being a year, or possibly 2 or 3 years ago. I want to more see what's happening right now in reference to it. And then we can try to see,
Would it help if I had the name of the police officer who, on November 22nd, ticketed the woman who was going around? And,
The sergeant has been helping us with everything.
can we discuss that afterwards? And we'll talk with the sergeant for a real quick minute back there, and we can give him the information? Okay? Sounds good.
I will work with Kevin and the police department, and we can maybe pull some previous crash reports. I don't know if reports can be written on citations in a corridor or not. I don't know their software, but, and look at traffic counters, or the speed sign does also do some collection, but we can look at that.
So how do we want to word this? This is going to be item 908. Do we want to word it as speeding on Monterey, or, excuse me, speeding on Madison?
Between Villa and Riverside? I would say speeding and perhaps other mischief? No.
Traffic safety? Traffic safety on Madison between Villa and Riverside? Because speeding is a traffic safety issue?
If you want to say traffic safety.
You're going away yelling at houses.
Speeding and other traffic safety issues.
Trying to shorten it.
.907, did you say?
908.
Aggressive driving.
Okay. I'm basically putting it as speeding / traffic safety issues on Madison between, what were we saying, Highland?
Villa to Riverside.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other new businesses that we'd like to add to this?
I do.
Yes.
So, just based on our, previous conversations last year regarding, two dates that we always seem to try and, modify our dates for. If we take a look at the 4th of July as well as Election Day next year, because we are scheduled to meet. Because I know we always talk about it and then it's like it's too late for us to put it on an agenda item to possibly look at those dates, as we start the new year.
I'm going to slide you to commissioners' comments, and we'll look at it
Oh, sorry, I
there.
thought that was, I'm sorry.
No, I'm looking for more, yeah,
It is really important business.
yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry. I apologize. Yeah, so no, that's fine. I'll do commissioner comments.
Okay. All right. Anything else, then? Okay, let's go to commissioners' comments, and I'm going to start at the left, and we'll start with Joe.
The only thing I have, I did forget to mention earlier when we were talking about Princeton and Belden up that way. I did speak with Director Gola and let him know of our discussions and of the issues, and he's also looking into potentially adding parking, if not on that side, but potentially on the east side of the park, where there is nothing at this point. So he's looking into maybe doing something like that to alleviate some of the parking issues as well.
And I'm going to go back to the situation, because we talked about that, and I think the one resident that was here was in favor of really not trying to put more parking space in there, that they liked the idea of the trees being there.
The east side of the park.
Oh, okay, on
Off
the
of,
east side. Okay,
I
I'm
guess
thinking the east side of the street. I'm
I
sorry.
think that would be Ardmore.
Okay. Well, we still have it on,
The others, I see, Carl, the other
Ardmore
side.
dead ends at the park, and then it
Yeah,
picks
but
up
on the
again in
north side, it
Addison.
also dead ends.
Yeah.
Does it?
So they could
Yes.
extend that, they're thinking maybe about extending that out and potentially putting in some bathrooms and some parking. They're looking into it and whether they can get a grant for some of it and some of that. But I did bring it up to him. I let him know about the problems
believe this is all
in regards to his scheduling and things
So
like
I
that. So
think they're
he
looking
wasn't
at
bombarded
right
if
away.
we do
Ends here.
the things that we've talked about.
I think they're looking
That'll
at
affect
putting
his
maybe
schedule.
spots.
oh,
So I wanted to make
In the
sure
right
he
of way.
was aware
That makes
of that,
sense.
because he'll get parents complaining there's
So
nowhere
they
to
don't
park.
come off.
That'll always be there.
Yeah,
I think we own. 'cause
basically, that's good. What Michael showing to me is, it'll be on the north side of, south side of the park.
North side.
North
North side.
side of the park, yes. That they would put a few more parallel parking spaces
On Belden?
on Ardmore.
Ardmore.
Ardmore. It would,
Ardmore on the other side of the
On the
park.
north side.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, but it won't be, it's a handful. anyways, because I believe they're limited in reference to, I believe where the pond is, and then just north of the pond, that is considered wetlands in there, so that would not be able to do anything to that too, so.
Well, the point being is that he's looking into options to improve
Right.
his parking situation and his scheduling,
Right.
so that we don't have as many people coming into that. In other words, I've got Parks and Rec helping us look
Right,
into
I hear you.
this.
Okay, anything else?
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Vicky, now you want to bring up the situation? Okay.
Love to look at our dates that were of our meetings so that we can put them on the agenda now if we choose to modify them. The two I just identified is, usually it's the week of 4th of July, and then again, November 4th, it will be Election Day.
November 4th. There's no election in November.
Well, it says Election Day.
There's always an election in November.
Not every November.
There's always an election in November.
What election is it going to be?
Sometimes it's only local stuff. It'll be judges, it'll be, I don't know. But there's always an election in November.
Good, Karen's not here, she can.
Okay. And July 4th falls on a Friday of
Right,
that
but it's
week.
usually that week, but a lot of people are usually on vacation that week, and we usually have, attendance is low.
Okay,
So
we'll
those were just the two I thought we should look
we'll
at.
look into that,
It's possible.
yes.
Or I don't know if it is, I mean, if possibility, I don't know, can we actually not meet in July?
It may not, may come down to, we just don't meet that day.
What about May?
Yes.
What about
I
May?
got May.
What's with May?
May's, that's in the last week of the month. May
Yes.
has Memorial Day.
Yes, it's May 6th as
It would
well.
be-
We have
Actually,
a-
she's right. May 6th is the next,
Also, right.
I'm sorry, not May 6th.
April?
April.
That'd be April 4th, no.
Yeah, the election is on April Fool's Day, so
We usually meet on Election Day,
Yeah,
but
we
Karen,
usually
but
meet.
Karen usually can't be here.
Karen's the only
because
one,
she's a
yeah.
judge.
So I'm not worried about that unless,
do we want to reschedule is the point
Is the
she's
question,
making.
I'm saying if we want to reschedule till like the 8th.
we'd have to check into that because we have to make petitions down to the village manager to get that all.
So I was just trying to put them so we get them on the agenda, because usually we talk about it like the month before instead of previously, just to identify them.
Primaries is the 17th,
Trying to get ahead of it.
April 6th,
September the 1st is
April 1st or
Labor Day's
2025,
the
yeah.
day before our meeting in September.
But there'll be no election in November.
There's no election in November.
It's every 2 years for the feds.
Okay, there's no election in November. He's looking
So
at a
is it
schedule.
one?
Joey was right.
As an election day? Okay, well then let's look at the 6th and then the week, July.
But April 1st is correct.
Sometime for the other one.
There's always an election in April and November.
No, not
I
every.
think we all may have stakes in that.
Okay.
What do I know? I wasn't a citizen any previous
Yes.
November. I don't know
No?
anything.
Yes,
Excuse us.
I would like to point out, and probably embarrass the poor child, but I'd like to point out that Alex Carson is here. So Alex is actually in Troop 199, Boy Scout Troop 199 in Villa Park, and I believe, what rank are you now? Star Scout. He's a Star Scout, which he's 2 levels away from being an Eagle Scout. And he is here today doing one of his requirements for Citizen in the Community badge. Correct? Yep. So I just wanted to say welcome and thank you for attending our meeting tonight, Alex. It's been a pleasure. Hope you learned some, hope you got what you needed out of it for your badge. So, thank you. So, and good luck to you getting that Eagle. You're well on your way. So, thank you,
Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes, just want to say kudos to staff. I noticed that we have the new beacon at the Great Western Trail.
Yes, yeah.
And you may be aware of this, but I went to Villa Perk this morning and hit the button for the beacon at Villa and the Illinois Prairie Path, and it didn't go on.
I haven't looked. Sometimes this time of year, the batteries will drain.
Okay.
If we don't get enough sun, but I'll have them review the Prairie Path.
And I'm just wondering, Kevin had mentioned that there will be other crossings. I think he mentioned Harvard. There's possibly a beacon going in.
Correct, yeah. So this past year, I have to verify Harvard, we have our what you're referring to is rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RFBs, the flashing lights to cross a crosswalk. We were planning, in 2024, we were planning the Great Western at Ardmore and Harvard. Those had come in. We also have on order, they just got back ordered a little bit, ones for Monterey and the Illinois Prairie Path. So that should be installed hopefully this month. For that location, we're waiting for the bases to come in, which are supposed to be delivered, I think, next week. In the 2025 budget, we have to finish out Summit and Harvard for the Illinois Prairie Path in the budget for installation of those.
That should be great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Jack?
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Vicky stole my thunder. I was going to embarrass Alex.
So we're moving on to Carl.
I have nothing other than Happy New Year.
Okay. Good, which ends up going to my comments, and I really just have nothing except Happy New Year, and looks like we're off to a great start. So, Michael, do you have any comments?
Just because I'm, so the village engineer, just maybe some points of interest. Also, with this upcoming board meeting, we are recommending for award the construction of what we call the Jackson Area Improvement Project. This would be the extension of the stormwater sewers off of Michigan, extended down Madison to Addison, and then up, halfway up Addison, along with storm sewer installation on Wisconsin from Jackson to Madison. So that construction will start this spring, and it will be very intrusive, as the sewer, I believe, going down Madison is in the neighborhood of 72 or 60 inches. I don't remember where we stepped down. So there will be detours that will be destructive to traffic in that area as we make those improvements. Similarly, we will have some engineering agreements, obviously, for Harvard, for the study. The other point of emphasis in that traffic study is also to review the signals a little bit more comprehensively over at St. Charles and Ardmore, as comments were concerned. So that is included in the Phase 1 engineering, is to review those signals for both traffic and pedestrian enhancements that could be made to be included in that Phase 1 engineering study. And then we'll have engineering agreements on there as well for Harvard, moving north from Plymouth to Ridge, to try to get that out to bid, to finally try to dodge school on the north side and not do construction during the school year, but to actually try to get most of that construction completed. So those are some of the larger items that's on the docket at the first meeting in November that will impact traffic
So,
in all those areas.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What was part of the project for the Jackson area? Is that part of the streets and,
Yeah, so the streets, it will be a stormwater extension to pick up and expand the storm sewer to go to the new Jackson Pond. But it goes from Michigan all the way to Addison. It'll be like a 72-inch sewer going down that road, so it'll be very disruptive. And then it'll be the replacement and reconstruction of Wisconsin with the storm sewer from Jackson to Madison.
is that a new project, or is that something
That project's
on-
that's been on the docket. It's, we have bids and we're recommending to award. So construction would start if the board awards the project, probably March timeframe, I would imagine.
Okay.
Is that all one project, or is it two projects?
That one is one, and then Harvard would be planned to be bid and let in April, or sorry, into March, for an April award with the board, so that we can get construction started at the end of May.
Are they doing resurfacing at this time, or?
We're still finalizing locations for the resurfacing.
Okay. They won't be confusion in reference to locations, in reference to the construction's going on, because those large-sized sewers are gonna probably be closing those roads completely down.
Correct. There'll be some detours occurring during that timeframe. Yeah, we will push out the updates through Facebook, Code Red, those sort of things as construction advances to notify closures and detours, and work with District 45 on that too. They have partnered with us on some of the other projects so that they can also let their parents know that, like Wisconsin, do not park in Wisconsin. Construction is on beginning. And I know that was also a concern with traffic and safety in the board when I first got here with the improvements to Jackson School and their parking lot configuration of traffic, so we will keep them informed as well. But that project is anticipated to start in March and probably end in like November.
Okay. All right.
Right?
Yes,
Right,
Bob?
one quick- Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could, the Yale Avenue Improvement Project from Madison to Jackson, will that go forward in 2025?
We'll have to evaluate the cost
Okay.
of the Jackson area. It's a little bit higher than our original budget.
I understand.
So those are kind of using some of the same funds, unfortunately. So we're evaluating that one, but the design will be completed and ready to go with.
Gotcha.
if-
All right, thank you.
If everything is
When
kosher.
would construction start on that?
On the Jackson area, if it awards on Monday's board meeting, we're anticipating probably March, pending weather start from.
So just kind of curiosity, would that have any impact on the traffic study that's going to be done for Lufkin that we talked about with crossing and so forth, with anybody detours and so forth, because it is going into Jackson Pond? So that area may have detours that would push people down Ardmore.
It may have a little bit of impact. We'll have to see. The detours will probably be Michigan and Addison. Addison being the one, but it'd probably,
People will find ways.
they go up and down Michigan, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sergeant, do you have any comments?
18 signs left. 18.
18 signs?
You weren't too far off, Bob.
Okay. Thank you.
I noticed some of those have shown up in Lombard,
Really?
some of our signs.
Well, that's in reference to it because when we go to the school functions and stuff, that covers their area, and so we're handing them out. and-
Yeah.
We're saving children.
Well, I'm not complaining, I just stating that I've noticed them in Lombard
Right.
too.
So, but it's basically in reference to the school districts and the events that happen there. So, Bob, you have another?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Therefore, we are ending at 9:05. Thank you.